Hi, good evening again. Reconvene to open session, and it is 8:11. Announcement of actions taken in closed session, none. H, comments from the public. The board will take any of all comments from the public related to the item on the agenda or any item of district business that is not on the agenda. We do have several requests. The first one is Maria Bravo.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. Good evening to my brothers and sisters in union, in solidarity with you. And also good evening to the administrators, that it hasn't been a very good year for you. I know you have endured a lot this year. My comment is about, I believe, item M15, yes. It's about the resolution regarding the CISC. I'm asking you to table that item. That item goes hand in hand with the tentative agreement with CSCA. I'm sorry, my name is Maria Bravo. I've been a Calexico Unified School District employee and a CSCA member for 22 years. This item shouldn't be here on this agenda unless the tentative agreement is also on the agenda. It goes hand in hand. The tentative agreement has the CISC on it as well, that we're changing insurance, not because we want to, because it is being imposed upon us. It is not something we're totally in agreement. Yes, a tentative agreement did pass, but it nearly passed. We're not happy with it. We like our current insurance, and we would like to remain with our current insurance. I'm asking you tonight to table this item again, because if we don't have the tentative agreement on this agenda, why do we have this resolution on this agenda? You're putting the horse before the cart. Please, this is not reasonable, and you are reasonable people, and I expect that from you. Please table the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bravo. Next speaker is Esther Martinez.
Good evening, Board. My name is Esther Martinez, and I'm here before you regarding item M13, where you are considering, or you're going to discuss the possibility of changing Board Policy 4300, which takes, or you're striking out the section that the superintendent will make recommendations to you, and that you will ultimately decide who gets hired or not. What I'm here is a resource to you to let you know that all the districts around Calexico and San Diego, LA, all of California have the same Board Policy 4300 the way it is right now. And there's a reason why it's like that. It's to protect you, Mr. Calderon, Mr. Alvarado, Ms. Magallanes, Romero, and Calderon. To protect you from yourselves. To protect you to keep the district in good standing and not be a liability. It poses, if you have the last word in who gets hired, it poses like a discrimination. It could be who you know. So it's to protect you, not to take power away from you. It's to protect you, because otherwise, why do we have people apply? Why do they go through the process? Why is there an interview? You hire very well capable administrators to do that function for you. Additionally, the timing of when you want to do this may affect your recruitment for superintendent. If I am an applicant who is looking to apply for superintendent and see that a board is taking away duties from a superintendent, it doesn't throw a good message to them. So just do your homework. It will not it doesn't look good that you want to take duties away from a superintendent. It throws the wrong message. It shows that maybe you want to put your people in positions that you want. And I know that's not what you want to do. You want to do the right thing. I know that's what you keep saying. So just do your homework. Just do your homework. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Next speaker, Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim?
Okay, my name is Jun Kim again, and was Mr. Alvarado's asking me about when I was a school board, how many times raised the salaries on teachers. I was fighting with 4 school board members, arguing with them, and finally they decided to frame me sexual harassment, which was not true. Okay, they tried to kick me out from the school board several times because I was stood up for the teachers and students. And they did it several times, sexual harassment. And even one of the employees, they're using it to try to investigate me. They all false accusation on me, because I was stood up for the teachers and students. Of course, but second years, the school district, they had the fact finding. Finally, they had the school teachers, they have to enforce to accept the condition, but they didn't want it. But later on, they've been fixed it. But anyhow, as number I show you tonight, that was your budget. And your budget was cutting by the school board members, $6 million cutting. They spend that money with the lawyer and consulting, total $13 million. So where are you guys focusing on our education? I feel you guys kidnapping our students to take the money from the tax money to spending for the lawyer and consulting and other things, but not last interest in the classroom. What is a school? Teachers and students. That school starts. And you guys doesn't understand that core system. You cannot have a good education with the demotivating teachers. Somebody saying, oh, teachers, they have a nice car, they have a nice living. A lot of people suffer from their incomes. They have good life. They've been studying, they've been working hard to teaching our kids for building future of the Calexico. That's why I'm standing here to protect future of the Calexico. Please, misunderstanding, I'm not here for some favor or for doing the favor for the teachers. I'm doing for the favor for our cities, for the future, and please, you guys have to understand what is real education is, focusing the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Chris de la Rosa.
Good evening, Board, and Ms. Ramirez. I'm here to speak today. First of all, I'm just going to do something for the people at home because I'm an avid watcher from home. You need to turn on your microphones when you speak for full transparency so everybody at home can hear you as well. Mr. Calderon, you have a habit of not turning on your mic when you speak. I don't know if you do it on purpose, but you need to be a little more consistent turning on your microphone. Okay, I'm here to speak because I'm in full support, and it's a shame that the cameras do not pan to the crowd so that everybody at home can see how many people are still here after your long closed session. I'm here to speak on the items that are being lost in negotiations, and I fully support all of you union people that are negotiating and fighting the good fight for what you're due to. But the complaint filed by administrators against you board members, that's lost in the mix because all the attention, and rightly so, are on negotiations. But the majority of you in that report have been found as unreliable witnesses to the claims that administrators filed against you. And I'm speaking on it because I'm all over that complaint. For those of you who don't know, I mentioned at least 15 times in redacted form or otherwise. Calderon Jr., and I hate to say Jr. because I really liked your dad and I appreciated him as a person, and you're the opposite. Alvarado, unfortunately, I was one of the last people to know what you're capable of. And Calderon over there hiding over there in the corner, the same. The three of you have conspired to micromanage the district, to affect employees' livelihoods, and to do all kinds of shady stuff, okay? And I just want to be here because it's time for me. And I was waiting because I'm in the process. And I was waiting. That we're coming for you guys. Okay? If you have hopes of being here longer, we're coming for you. We're coming for all you guys to get you out of these positions. And ma'am, don't follow them. You're too new. You don't really know what's happening. Don't follow their lead. They're dirty. All of them are dirty. Mr. Romero, mis respetos. You've been the only solid one on this board. To all of you,
Next speaker, Xavier Rodriguez.
Hi, everybody. I was here earlier to speak about negotiations. Now I'm here to speak about two different items that appear on the agenda, and those items are M15 and M13. Let me start off with M13 and why this is a terrible idea. You all just started looking for a superintendent. You want the best superintendent you can find. But before you've actually started the search, you're going to send the message that you're going to make sure that whoever comes in has less power than they're supposed to, has less of an ability to do their job the way that a superintendent's job is supposed to be done. What you guys are removing essentially takes away an important part of the democratic process, checks and balances. As it was mentioned earlier, it's not necessarily to take away power from you, the board, but it's to protect you as well. It makes zero sense, no matter how you want to look at it, to remove the part of M13 that you want to remove. If you want the best, then what you need to do is you need to empower the people that you have. And you're doing exactly the opposite. In regards to M15, the switch to CISC, I don't even know why this is an item on the agenda. As far as I know, and I think I would know, ACT has not agreed to a switch to CISC. This is a unilateral move that you guys are making without authority, just because you feel it's the right thing to do. But time and time again, I'm sorry, that feeling that you've had has been wrong. It's time for you to start listening to what the people that you have entrusted for all these years, listen to them. There's a lot of good people in here that want the best for this district. And you're sending a message to them, if you vote to approve it, that their opinion doesn't matter. That the good faith negotiations that you have gone in for years and years and years now, not just with ACT, but also with SEA, means absolutely nothing, because if you don't get your way by the time you feel you should have gotten it, you're just going to do whatever you want anyways. Be very careful with these two items, because they send two very dangerous messages to people that you need, to people that you want to trust you. As I mentioned earlier, we need you to be leaders. We need you to stand up and do what is right. Please do that today. Thank you.
Thank you. My mic's on. Consent agenda, J, consent agenda. All items appearing to be acted upon, one motion without discussion. Oh, you know what? You're right. I stand corrected. We have a presentation, which is I-1, attendance, community, day school update. Who's going to give us the presentation? Oh, yeah, thank you.
It's the one on attendance. It's attached to the item. Right above that one, above it. Hasta arriba, right there. No, está very well. No se puede ver. Yeah, you can make it smaller because you're taking some of the space around it. The click is not going to work. present, no? I mean, I can share it with you, pero ¿tienes que ver tu computadora? She's gonna share with you the Google. Good evening. Both Hortensia and I will be presenting the information regarding chronic absenteeism. And so if you go to the next page, we're going to start with definitions. So you will be hearing us say chronically absent and severely chronic absent students. So based on the information, the chronic absent students can be both excused and unexcused. A chronic absent student is when they miss 10% or more of the student's instructional days. So for example, on the yellow, as of March 18, 2022, we have 128 days. So if a student has been absent 13 days, they're considered to be chronic. Severe chronic is twice as much. So a student who has missed 20% or more of the student's instructional days. So if we go back to the little blue bubble, as of March 18, 2022, we've had 128 days. So for a student to be severely chronic, they've been absent for 26 days. So we're going to be looking at the 10% and the 20%. Next slide. So some historical data that was pulled out of DataQuest, one of the platforms that we use to pull out data. You're going to see that in 2016-17, for example, the chronic absenteeism rate for Calexico Unified was 14.40%. In comparison to the county, 9.8, and statewide, 10.8. And you can see the similar data for 17-18. Our chronic absenteeism went up all across Imperial and statewide, but we're still above the county and the state. In 18-19, it went up again. For Imperial, it actually went down. For the state, it went up. In 1920, due to COVID, they weren't calculating the chronic absenteeism because some of the schools closed around March, and so it was really hard to capture that data. In 2021, Calexico Unified had 16.4 on chronic absenteeism rate, and this was during the remote learning year. And then for Imperial, overall was 12.30, and for statewide, it was 14.30, so the state was actually higher than in general for Imperial Valley. Next slide. This is dashboard data. So dashboard is a different platform that we use to search for data. So if you look at the numbers for Calexico Unified, it's different from the other platform, but it was 21% in 17-18 for Calexico Unified and 21.5 in 18-19. And the dashboard did not provide data for both 19-20 and 2021 for the same reason. It was suspended because it just didn't make sense to calculate the chronic absenteeism during the COVID 2 years. And you can see across other districts, their chronic absenteeism rate in comparison to Calexico, and we've had the highest chronic absenteeism rate. Next slide. Here's the data by subgroups. So in 17-18 and 18-19, there was an increase as a district, but if you look at our English learners, there was also almost a little bit less than 1% for our English learners. Our students with disability are the ones that are chronically absent the most. It still went up by about 1%. Our socioeconomic disadvantaged students is very similar to our district-wide. Our students who are under foster care, they also have a really, really high chronic absenteeism rate. And our students who are experiencing homelessness are also very high in chronic absenteeism. Next slide. So we know that in California, due to COVID, we've had a crisis in attendance. If you look at 1920, our students that were chronically absent and severely chronically absent was 11.5%. During remote learning, the 2020-21, that went up to 17%. And in 21-22, with everything related to contact tracing and students having to isolate, our chronic absenteeism went up to 28.6%. Again, regardless if a student is excused or unexcused, their count still goes towards chronic or severely chronic data.
Next slide. So that's the crisis in California, and yes, we do have a crisis in Calexico regarding our absenteeism, chronic absences and severe chronic, and excused and unexcused. 1920, we had a 12% of chronic and severe chronic absences, and 2021, we had 30%, and this year, we're at 48% of chronic absences. But board, please also remember that Imperial County was one of the counties with the highest COVID. Our next slide is going to show you another graph with absences in 5 categories: excellent, satisfactory, manageable, chronic, and severe chronic. Our goal is to make sure that they move back, well, except for the excellent. We want them to keep excellent. The satisfactory, hopefully, we'll move them to excellent. The manageable, will move them up to satisfactory, chronic to manageable, and severe chronic, even if we go all the way to manageable. So you'll see the percentages there and the amount of students that are in each of the categories. The next slide. The next slide will show you total absences summary year over year. You see where that arrow is? That's when we started COVID. Our absences we were a lot better. But look how our excellent even declined year after year. Satisfactory declined. Our manageable stayed almost the same from 1920 to right now. But look at our chronic, where we started in 1920 and where we're at right now. The goal is to increase the number of students in excellent and satisfactory, and to decrease the numbers in manageable and chronic categories. Next slide. We still have an opportunity to increase learning time. By June 10th, 2020, we will have 180 days. That means 180 days of school. If any student has more than 18 absences, either excused or unexcused, they're going to be chronic. By June 10th, 2022, we will have still 120 days. And if any student has 36 absences, no matter if it's excused or unexcused, they will be severe chronic. Right now, we have 1,701 students that have not acquired enough absences to end the year as chronic, even if they're chronic right now. But if they do not miss any more days and they don't hit that mark of 18 days or more, we can save them where their records will not show that they are students with chronic absences. 43% of the chronic students do not have to end this year with chronically absences. I want to show you this next slide. This next slide here shows you our schools, and we even included our students in independent study. This one right here, if you see the schools with the most absences to the least absences, what's really alarming about this is that some of the schools that are at the top were always the schools that you as board members presented them with awards for being the best schools with the best attendance. So if we go down, I'll show you what I'm talking about, that next slide. We put stars next to the schools: Blanche Charles, Cesar Chavez, Enrique Camarena, Jefferson, and Maines. Those were the schools that in the past were the schools with the best attendance. But look at where our schools are at right now.
So the next slide. So I had presented some data regarding the metrics when I did the LCAP supplemental or mid-year update data. So this slide should look familiar. I did add information on the very top. Our ADA, our goal is always to be at 96. On the average, we've been around 95. And for 2021, we did the ADA PT report, which is the report that we use for attendance, and it was at 94.81 in 2021. Then in 2022, we did the P1 report. The P1 report only ran from August to December, and we were at 87.93. At the time that we did this presentation, we still weren't at P2 because our original meeting was going to be last week on March 24th, but P2 actually ended was up to a Friday of last week. If you go to the next slide. So the program we used for A2A did the calculation for us as of February 28. So in February 28, our percentage went up to 88.9. And so we actually checked today because we didn't have this data as of last Thursday before we did the report. Our P2 attendance percentage to end the year is at 87.36. So as of Friday. No, as of Friday. P2 was 87.36, but that is the percentage that is being used to calculate our ADA. Next page. Through our program, A2A, we can identify which days are days that students are absent the most. So if you look at the very top, the first time we see reds are around October, I think it's the 18th. On October 18, on the very top to the right side, that was one of the Mondays that there was a lot of students that were absent. And Hortensia and I were trying to figure out, well, what exactly happened that week that we had a lot of students absent on that Monday. Normally, we have students absent a lot on Mondays and Fridays. Then the following month, November, you see November 1st. So again, if we look at traditions, and then let's say we did use the Day of the Dead for that week, that could have been a reason for that one. And then we have in November the 22nd, the 12th, and the 19th. So Veterans Day ended or landed on a Thursday, so students didn't show up on Friday the 12th either. So that's probably why we had a lot of students absent. Then the following Friday, that's the day right before we went to Thanksgiving break, and students tend to do that. They're absent the Friday before we hit any vacation. In December, same thing. On the 17th, it was the last Friday before we went into Christmas break. And then we came back from Christmas break, and then you see all the reds. This is when COVID really hit us. We have families who have children who had isolated 3 times already. Today I met with a family that was going through some process, and we were discussing attendance, and that mom did say to me, you know what, Ms. Ramirez, they hit us. We were out at least 3 times with COVID. So the minimum that student was out for the year already is 30 days because they quarantined 10 days 3 times. So they are automatically chronically absent. And then in February, we saw the other 2 days was February the 4th and the 7th, where students were absent the most.
Also, definition for excused absences. Excused absence is anything having to do with the student. The student is sick. The student has a medical appointment. It's not if the brothers or sisters are sick. It's only if the student is sick. What I want to show you here is excused chronic absences. 13 days, how they have declined from the first day of school. The next slide shows you exactly the percentages. So when we ended the week on 8/31st, yes, we had 482 students already with chronic absences. And now, as of 3/14th, we have 260, I think that's what it says. So we went from 6% down to 3%. That is excused chronic absences, more than 13 days. Excused severe chronic absences, students that have more than 26 days of absences right now. That's the next slide. Also see how the graph has gone down from the first week to the second week. And remember, chronic absences is 10% of the time. Severe chronic is 20% of the time. So on the severe chronic also, we went from a 5% to right now to a 3%. We'll go down to the unexcused chronic absences. This one is what continues to go high. So unexcused is any absence. The student might be sick, but no one has called to verify it. So unexcused is really parents are not calling in, they're not being verified, or they're not in school. When they're not in school, no one has called. Unexcused means someone else is sick, or the parent can't bring them. A lot of this, what we are also thinking about is when our students wanted to go into independent studies, and we hadn't placed them in independent studies because they hadn't requested it prior to school starting, so those could have been some unexcused at the beginning, but not right now. Look how high it's going. I'll show you the unexcused rate at the next slide, where we started at 12% unexcused chronic, and right now we're at 19%. And then the following slide goes to unexcused severe chronic. We still continue to go up. And the next slide will show us the percentages from a 4% to now to a 6.5%. This next slide, I'm going to talk to you about the Saab process. We've heard that maybe some of our board members and maybe some of the community are thinking that our students are not being SARBed. Our students are being SARBed, but there's a process before they get to a SARB hearing. So there's a process I'm going to go to 2A. The first process is the notification of parents. Remember, even last time I talked about interventions. And one way that we provide an intervention is that we notify parents. They receive a letter saying this is their first notification of truancy. They even get a letter saying your child has excessive absences. Then they get another letter saying second notification of truancy, second excessive absences. That item number 4 right there, or that step number 4, that is the conference. This is the one that makes a difference really also in our schools. This is the time that our administrators meet with the parents through an SST, a SART, an IEP, a 504, a one-on-one, or a group, a conference to find out exactly what's happening, to remove the barriers. Why is it that the student is not showing up? So then if after that conference, and they do have a contract after that conference, if the student is still not showing up and these are unexcused absences, they get the third notification of truancies. Then we go down to the next slide, step 6. Then the school submits an application that they are ready for us to have a SARB hearing. Then we have the SARB hearing notification goes out. Then we go on step 8, that's when we hold the SARB hearing. If parents are not in agreement, there's also an appeal process. And so if we go down, I want to show you this SARB process, which is step 2 and 3. Currently, we have 10,621 parent communication pieces sent out as of March 11th. 4,010 first truancy letters went out. This is powerful because then those students, half of those students started to show up to school because we only send out 2,022 truancy letters, and only 52 received the third truancy letters. And 839 notifications. That means we need to have a meeting with you, an SST, a SART. Parents come over to the school, we need to meet with you. When I say we, that's at the site level. And then we also send out, even if they're excused absences, we send out 2,800 excused absence letters. And then only 855 received it the second time. So this is an intervention, that is SARB process step 2 or 3. You go on to the next slide. This is SARB process step 4. That is that conference piece. We have 1,239 students that we should hold a conference for. We've only held 24% of it. That means we've only held 295 conferences. We still need to hold those additional 76%. And by doing this, this is when we're removing the barriers, we're providing the interventions, and this is the part where we can save a lot of our students for not being chronically absent or severe chronic by the end of the school year.
Next page. So if you recall, the data that I showed earlier were during the remote learning, our chronic absenteeism was 16.4%. During that year, we developed this SART re-engagement plan. It was part of a requirement during the remote learning, but we as a team decided that we would continue using this intervention or re-engagement plan throughout the years. So first part is just general information about the parent, the student, and we highlighted what are some of the interventions that the team and the parent agrees that they will be following. Then there's a revisit. So page 2 is an opportunity for parents to sign and revisit multiple times. I included page 3, but there's actually page 4 and so forth, because you also want to be revisiting throughout this intervention process based on the SAB process that Ms. Mendez just shared with you.
You know, during a meeting with a parent, which I'm calling it a conference, the most powerful one is the revisit, because that number 2 is you're holding people accountable. We're holding our schools accountable that they did what they said they were going to do for the families, but they also hold the families accountable and the students accountable that they're also doing what they said they were going to do. So the revisits are really, really important.
Next slide. So as part of our trainings, we met with administrators, and we informed them that part of the interventions that they do hold those A2A parent conferences that we just spoke about, that only 24% were held. So this was taking more often. They were doing this during the remote learning year than what is currently happening. And we understand that right now the administrators were super bombarded with the contact tracing. It was just too much work, and our attendance clerks have been on and off extra hours trying to catch up. In addition to our independent study requests, for our short-term independent study requests for all those students that were in isolation. So the amount of paperwork that that was a result of COVID was really impacting what the schools could afford in terms of time of addressing all of these. But in that part, we also talked that you must document all the interventions in our student synergy contact log. And every time that I meet with a parent for a pre-exposure meeting, we pull out those contact logs and we inform the parents, this is how many times we've contacted you because of attendance. This is how many times you saw a counselor. So everything's documented in our synergy contact log, and we know we will use it in one way or another when we meet for SSTs, IEPs, pre-exposure meetings, etc. Next slide. We showed administrators what were some of the options that we could do for interventions, and this is included, of course, the SART re-engagement plan that we just shared. We talked about making sure that we provide tutoring services to our students, referral to counseling services. Our counselors and our clinical social workers and Ms. Armendariz developed a website with lots of information, a lot of resources for our parents, and it's also posted on our regular webpage for the district. We also talked about offering parent trainings to parents who are having a difficult time assisting their child to engage in school. We talked about linking students to outside agencies for support, such as the IVC Upward Bound and the IVROP for mentoring and academic guidance. And of course, we included all types of contract, could be attendance contract, behavior contract, and conducting home visits.
We're back to that SAR process step 4, which is the conferences. So conferences must be scheduled for chronically absent students. So right now what we currently do have, we're missing, that's the component that we're missing right now. Out of 934 conferences, we still need to schedule 818 of them. 88% of these students that need to be scheduled have already missed 10% of the school. So SARB, next slide, SARB hearing step 5. As of March 21st, 2022, sites have not submitted applications for SARB hearings. But last week, we did receive 4 applications from our 9th grade campus, and honestly, we returned all 4. 1, there was not a manifestation determination, and the other 3, that accountability piece was not there. The interventions that were gonna be held were not there. So a SARB hearing will be scheduled once applications are received and we see that those meetings have taken place and that all the interventions have taken place also. So once we have a packet, we're ready to have SARB hearings, and agencies will be notified to be able to participate with us in a SARB hearing. And the last one is, board members, do you have any questions of us?
Oh, thank you so much for that presentation. It was real informative. Out of the 76%, the 934, you're saying that's in process currently, correct?
Yes, that is, the schools know which students are next to have a conference. It can be, like I said, it could be in a SART, it can be in an SST, and an IEP, on a one-on-one. Yes, the schools know which students are identified as needing a conference.
Are we seeing that K through 12, or is there a certain like demographic, 9 through 12, or is it across the?
K-12. But we even have data to show you exactly grade levels too.
Yeah, so in the past, for regular attendance, we were able to identify certain grades. And so, for example, our kindergarten, first grade, and our 11th grade usually have the trend for the most chronic absenteeism. But with COVID, it's just all across. And that's, again, because of the 10-day isolation that students had to have.
Thank you for the report.
I have a couple of questions. Can you go back to the slide where you showed us the percentages of the different populations on the?
The subgroups
Yes,
at the very beginning, so I
Yes.
think it was about the third or fourth slide. Very, very beginning.
at the beginning, very, very beginning.
So if you go down to the one that's yellow and orange,
No,
that one,
no,
that one.
right there.
Mhm.
Why is it that our foster youth and homeless, it's high? I understand that sometimes they're the most difficult people to the students to reach. However, didn't we hire people to get in touch specifically with these two categories of students?
So yes, this is 17-18 and 18-19 data. The data looks very different for the other years because we now have like case management and one-to-one support. Hortensia will probably confirm with me that there's a need for a second individual because one of the things we focused on for some of our homeless students was on graduation. So they were focusing on the seniors, making sure that they were graduating, and in the data that I shared in the past, our homeless students did increase their graduation rate. But we just don't have, we have so many that with one staff member, we just can't address all the needs of a student.
And there's more to that too. Yes, we do have one person helping with our McKinney-Vento students. Those are our students that are experiencing homelessness. Just today, we've interviewed for another one, but this time it's gonna be foster/homeless. But there's a lot more to that. A lot of our students, especially our foster students, a lot of them are pulled out, you know, to go to court hearings. Yes, we're trying to, I mean, I'm not the one that decides when they go to court, but honestly, our courts are trying their best for students not to be pulled out. Sometimes students are removed from their home from one night to another. They're taken to Betty Jo McNeese. Yes, they do receive classes over there. There's a lot more going on, but if you start seeing the data now because of our case management, especially with our students in foster care and our students that are our McKinney-Vento students, that data looks a lot better. And especially the graduation rate looks a lot better because of the help that we have and the case management that we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
9 o'clock.
So just the part two of the same presentation, the board had asked to give you an update on the community school.
Ms. Ramirez, can you hold on? It's 9 o'clock, so we gotta
Oh,
extend
sure.
the meeting.
Make a motion to extend to 10?
Motion by Mr. Alvarado to extend the meeting to 10 o'clock. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Romero. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Go ahead.
So just a quick update on our community school. We took a week to do the transition because we had to train a teacher or a substitute teacher that was going to cover for the teacher that was originally doing community school because that teacher was doing independent studies. So they spent some days shadowing so that the substitute was going to be able to take on that teacher's independent study students. And the now community school teacher had his 2 days, I think it was yesterday or today and tomorrow, to prep for the class. And so after this, the week, it's now going to be open. Right now, we only have one student that has been expelled and is now attending the ICOE community school. We do have about 6 to 8 other students coming up, and so those students can be recommended to attend our community school if the decision is for them to be expelled. But it'll be up and running already.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez.
Okay. I2, Workman's Comp update.
Evening, board, members of the public. Brian Thurman with Human Resources. Tonight I want to share specifically around workers' compensation on a cost containment update and sort of a plan moving forward that we are seeking your input. So we will start with one of the ways we see and that we've been advised that is the most efficient way to cut our costs is to implement a return to work program. And so we have done this as much as we could during COVID. Had a lot of challenges. We had sort of ramped up with increasing our knowledge and looking at plans right before COVID, but we're back to it. So a return to work program is really a modified alternative work for injured employees. There's several components of a return to work program. The main definition there, I'm looking in the packets that you have that were available in the back, that the temporary assignments to assist injured employees to transition back to their regular assignment. This type of duty is a transitional process which enables the employee to return to work until medically recovered and able to return to their regular assignment. So this usually does not extend past 90 days, but it provides options other than just sitting at home and not being able to continue coming to work and continue movements and all the different things that go along with the healing process. Speak louder. Okay, I'm going to speak a little louder. All right. So that's some of the definition, the parameters, again, not more than 90 days usually. So moving to some of the program objectives, the main goal here is to provide a means for an injured employee to return to the workplace as soon and as safely as possible. Also to provide a means of maintaining the employee's job skills, self-esteem, morale, all while enabling them to progress back to their regular assignment. So the goal of any return to work program is to return to their full-time regular assignment. As far as operating procedures go, there is a chart here, kind of hard to read, but on the slide here, but you'll have it in front of you there. Starts with the initial injury. The work injury, illness occurs, that's the very top of that, and then there's all the steps down all the way to full duty release by physician to get back to their regular position, meaning they have healed and recovered and rehabilitated to get back to that assignment. The return to work program is in the kind of sloppily highlighted area there, talking about the interactive process that takes into account an employee's accommodations that are recommended by a physician on what they can do in coming back. Now, sometimes they may not be able to do other types of work, and so there are other things that we can do around safety and other types of skills that we can have them work with in lieu of actually having another task in another part of the district or within their own department. So that is a proposed flow chart that will analyze the current condition of the employee, and that will change over time, and there will be updates, but the ultimate goal, of course, will be getting them back to their full-time regular position. These are just a sample of some of the modified or alternate work activities based in different categories there that are some of the just sort of acceptable other activities that don't involve a lot of movement and things that just from the experiences that we've seen are kind of not necessarily qualified, but just other ideas that employees can do that we've been utilizing even now. This is what we call the modified or alternative work offer for industrial injuries. And this goes through just a formal way to identify what we're going to ask an injured employee to do, what type of alternative work, some of the details about it there. There is a checkoff down below that they're understanding what this is, what this assignment is. Just really formalizes the process and puts it in writing so that the employee's aware of expectations and we're all on the same page as far as what the modified work would be. So for us to get there, these are some things we need, and then I'll give you an update kind of on a current snapshot of where we're at with workers' comp. We would need a full-time human resource specialist dedicated to workers' compensation. We have that being worked on now, along with several other activities, but this would be something that we would need someone dedicated to help us save money. Then the regular support from a workers' compensation specialist, which we have some connections with, and that type of a weekly support is in the process. That would be no cost. A location for a qualified worker to complete return to work trainings or modified alternate work activities, which we have people doing right now. Some more intensive training for administrators on investigation, reporting of workers' comp claims, the injuries, the improvements, the things that are needed. There's a whole process there. And then any follow-up processes with Keenan, who is our workers' comp. They're sort of our vendor that oversees that process through what's called PIPs. So when we talked about the current situation with return to work, we have right now 5 temporary total disability individuals, which normally we've had, at this time of year, we have double that or more. This means that they do not have accommodations where they are able to do something else. So they have the identification of TTD, temporary total disability, so they are not able to do some of the alternative work. Currently, right now, for the month of March, we had 10 new workers' comp claims. 8 of those are working out with accommodations right now. So they are being accommodated in doing other work that's needed, but not making worse their current injury. They're able to do this type of work for us. And just to wrap up, this represents the savings that are possible. You've heard me discuss before the XMOD. It's the experience modification. This is based on our past performance, really not from the current year we're in, not from last year, not even from the year before that, but all years prior. And the reason for that, just a quick explanation, is that I could injure my ankle tonight, stepping on a crack. And throughout this year, I might have some physical therapy, maybe wear a brace, some of those things. It might get better, and I'm not on workers' comp anymore, and I'm back to work. It could also get worse, and I may end up needing surgery, and then more rehabilitation, and I could have another injury, and it could require more surgery. These kind of things, unfortunately, happen within the workers' comp world. What they call that is your first 2 years, workers' comp cases are green, meaning they are not considered for costs. They use all the ones before that because they have to give them time to mature and see where they're going to be, because many of those go away, many get worse, and so the costs are increased. So our XMOD for 21-22, meaning the modification of our pricing based on our experience, is 324% or 3.2. The goal is to have it at 1, meaning 100%. So districts that have an average workers' comp use have an XMOD rating of 100%. That is the typical average use of workers' comp. In 1920, when I first started, I talked to you then about our XMOD being at 2.7. So it's very interesting that it's gone from 2.7 to 3.2, even though our workers' comp cases have drastically reduced. If you remember, I shared that last time. So they've drastically reduced in these last 2 years, but these last 2 years are not what's determining our costs. So the plan with return to work can significantly reduce our experience modification. It's been done in other districts similar to ours, but we've been sort of cautioned that the first year, you still may see prices increase, because that first year of having this thoroughly implemented is not going to impact your pricing. It may even the second year stay the same, and this is based on experience of a district similar to ours. But that third year, the savings that are possible start increasing exponentially. This that you see here that we've been quoted is a possible savings to our current pricing of $3.6 million annually, but that's in about a 3 to 5 year window once we've been able to implement this and keep it going smoothly. So that's kind of what the return to work program can do. We do need to have set up some other supports and processes, but this is an incredibly large sum of money that is possible for us to save, all while keeping employees moving, keeping them coming to work, and helping them return to their positions. Any questions regarding that information?
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Dr. Thurman. Can you just tell the public what percentage we have here yearly of workman's comp, please?
Percentage
As
of
far as annually, it's 8.6, if I'm correct?
the cost?
8.20?
Yes.
And it equates to how much in money? Like $6 million? 6.5 million.
Yeah. And
That's
that's why that, I don't know if everyone can hear that, $6.5 million that is spent on workers' compensation. That's why that 3.6 million, 3,666,000 is significant. That's why it's an urgent issue.
And the closest one to Calexico is 3.9 in the valley, correct? Another district. Thank you very much.
Dr. Thurman, I have a couple of questions. And thanks for those figures that you just talked about. Say how much money we have spent. However, we have to take in consideration that we are the largest district in the county. So that's why our numbers will be slightly higher. So we need to understand that. However, with that said, are there any other districts in the county that have a person that works full-time in connection with Keenan?
I'm sorry, I do not know that. Can you hear me okay? I'm not aware if they have a full-time person working with workers' comp. So I'm not sure if they do have a full-time person or not. A lot of
Okay.
times they'll have a risk management group that will
Yeah.
look at risk management as a whole, but I'm not aware if we have any districts that have a full-time
No.
workers' compensation
Well,
person.
I think it will be prudent first, if we're going to do this, I think it will be wise to find a district that actually has somebody like that and see how is it that they work things out. The last thing that we need is for, to hire somebody and have that person not know how to do whatever it is that you're proposing that we do. I understand that there will be trainings and that's good, but I think finding a district that has a person like that, I think that will be crucial first.
Yes, so to answer your question, I think partly because of the size, what we've looked at is other districts in Southern California that are similar in size, and they do have dedicated workers' comp individuals. The reference here is to having a full-time workers' comp person who we have on staff now that is handling this. They're responsible for helping to implement these 8 out of our 10 cases being actively engaged right now. So they have the tools, they just need more of the time and the ability to focus and to really have a strategic focus on that full-time.
And to answer your question, Mr. Calderon, this lady or gentleman that handles the workman's comp, they're assigned other duties. So they're not strictly on the workman's comp claims. So if this person was full-time, then things would be a lot faster.
Oh, okay.
Yes, exactly right. This person was helping with COVID, everything. So as this has gotten better the last couple of months, you've seen we have already had some significant changes and
Okay.
results. So that's what we're hoping for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In board meetings, you typically can't get questions from the audience. No.
Ms. Garcia, just fill out a paper when you're done so we know that you spoke.
I just have a question regarding the workers' comp. Right now was being mentioned. My question is this. Has there been a study on how many people have been hurt in certain areas? For example, I've spoken to you, Mr. Calderon. I've spoken, my principals, ex-principals have known about the situation in our parking lot at Jefferson. And it's still like that. When I got hurt, all that happened was there was a yellow marking. Ms. Garcia la tonta no miró el cemento, ¿verdad? Later on, some more people got hurt there. And the cement is even worse. So my question is, has there been a study, okay, employees are getting hurt doing this, in this activity or that activity, and see if it's because of the structure of the building, the cement, or maybe we need more training, because if we're saying lots of money is going to workers' comp, what trainings have been available for those people that are getting hurt in that area? Is it because of the way they're carrying boxes or something? How are they getting hurt? And if so, is it because of that? Do we provide training? Because, I mean, we learn certain techniques. Are people still using their belts? Are teachers moving furniture that they're not supposed to? Are custodians available? We need to look at what, I think, focus on the area, identify those areas, and see how we can help avoid those claims, and so our numbers won't be as high. Because I understand what you're saying. Oh yeah, we have a lot of costs, but what are we doing to avoid those? What are we providing? That's my
Okay,
question.
well, first of all, Ms. Garcia, I'd like to apologize because your information that was shared with me, it was forwarded, and I apologize if it hasn't been taken care of. But along with this, I can tell you that we can have a safety committee, and all the schools can be represented, and they can talk about their safety issues. And then when you're talking about the safety issues, also talk about training. And I understand that. So that's in the process, and I think having someone that handles this workman's comp, I think he or she could make time and be able to train everybody in the event that there is areas that need to be addressed.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
Okay, J, consent agenda. All items appearing will be acted upon one motion without discussion unless any item is pulled for separate consideration and action.
I move to approve
Motion-
J1.
Motion by
J5.
Alvarado, second by Romero. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Calderon?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Informational items, K1, Superintendent Report.
Good evening. On behalf of Superintendent Gonzalez, this is his report. So good evening, trustees, administration, staff, and our community that are watching via live stream. School highlights, special events. St. Patrick's Day was celebrated on March 17, and our sites held several activities on the festive day. On Monday, March 28th, our certificated staff and students did not attend school in observance of Cesar Chavez Day. The California Midwinter Fair and Fiesta came to an end. We want to congratulate all CUSD students, FFA participants for their hard work and dedication to their animals' care and showmanship. Imperial students participated in our junior livestock auction, where they presented for auction the small animals such as cavies, rabbits, poultry, market goats, and feeder calves on Friday, March 11, and on Saturday, March 12. The large animal auction, swine, sheep, and beef. This organization creates avenues for leadership in college and career exploration. The following students will be attending the FFA Leadership Conference: Ana Sofia Burciaga Garcia, Mia Milania Garcia, Yareni Aguilera, and Marla Sanchez. We also want to congratulate our staff for supporting our students with this endeavor. In addition, we also want to acknowledge our AXA recipients for 2022. So every year, for the Region 18, they send all districts nomination forms for Administrator of the Year. And then locally, we have the AXA Imperial County School Counselor of the Year and the AXA Imperial County Teachers of the Year. And every site has the option of nominating their staff. So it is with an honor for me to present the Teachers and School Counselor of the Year. So we have Mr. Fernando Arguelles. He's our EdTech coach, and he works at the district office. Ms. Mariela de la Fuente, she's an 8th grade mathematics teacher at Enrique Camarena Junior High. Mr. Juan Carlos Dominguez, sixth grade teacher at Bland Charles Elementary. Mrs. Rosario Reynosa Rodelo, our STC grades 4 through 6 teacher at Bland Charles Elementary. And Ms. Alejandra Segura, counselor at Jefferson Elementary School. So congratulations to all of them. They will be honored on Thursday, May the 5th, from 5:30 to 9 at the Old Eucalyptus Schoolhouse at 796 West Evan Hughes Highway in El Centro. There is, I believe you have flyers out there? Flyers if people want to register and participate in the celebration. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. We go on to K2, board reports. Mr. Calderon.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take some time, Mr. President, if you don't mind. I'm not gonna give a speech, but I just wanted to take the time to talk about what's happening currently between the district and the unions. I see it from both sides. It is very disheartening to see what's happening, and unfortunately, sometimes we are made to make decisions that maybe are not what we thought it would be when we got into these positions. I did not get elected to see a strike. I did not get elected to make the people that work for this district unhappy. And I think, and I speak for myself, but I don't think anybody on this board got elected to see how they can mess with their employees. So, however, it is a difficult situation, and I understand that sometimes difficult decisions are made. In the field that I work, like I said, I see it both sides, and I will hate if a strike happens. However, it is the decisions of the unions to if they want to strike, but it is going to place a very deep sentiment of hopelessness if that happens, because that's not what we got here to. At least I did not get elected to do this. But again, it is difficult decisions that we have to make, and sometimes the decisions that we make, they don't go. They don't. People don't see it the way that we want to make the people see it. Sorry. So with that said, thank you for being in this meeting tonight, and I hope that the unions and the district and us, that we can work this out, because the last thing that I want is to see a strike, is to see our students hurt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon. Mr. Romero?
I want to say thank you for joining us tonight. I know you all work very hard. I acknowledge that, and I want to acknowledge our girls soccer IBL champs, our boys soccer IBL champs, our girls wrestling CAF champion, masters and tournament champion, and of course our boys basketball IBL co-champs. They've done an awesome job, and it's too bad they're not here tonight to be recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Ms. Magallanes?
I want to go ahead and thank everyone that has been working with the second breakfast.
Your mic's
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? It's on. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Sorry about that. So I want to go ahead and give everyone a thank you for being here. Also for the people who have been involved for the second breakfast opportunity, for the drivers, the cafeteria workers, the extra work that they've been doing for this to become possible. I would like to know more about the update, like where we're at on that. Are you guys hearing me? Okay. Should I repeat myself? Okay, so again, thank you so much for everyone being here.
Alvarado?
everyone for being here. Can you guys hear me pretty good, or am I all right? Well, first and foremost, there was a lot of information being put out there that we pay our attorneys about $11 million, $13 million. I think that's what Mr. Kim said today. Based on some information that was shared with us tonight, that number currently since 12/31/19 to now to 1/26/22, actually not now, actually a couple months back, has been $105,431. And that information, it is accessible to everybody. I would say to go ahead and take a look into it. I know it's been mentioned before by Mr. Calderon that, you know, we want to go ahead and try to settle this, resolve these issues that's going on. There's some numbers that are being thrown out there. And just to be straightforward and stuff like that, this is stuff that I shared with some people out in the community. What we're looking at currently, just paying retros with teachers, is about $25 million, right? The way that it's being put out one way, the other way is about $10 million. So I think we have to come to some type of, because I believe that's the only thing that we currently is in hold up right now, is coming to a conclusion with these retros. So there has to be some type of you know, agreement. With that said, you know, there is hard decisions to be made. It's not easy. It's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. With that said, just want to thank everyone for what they do here, our teachers, administrators, CSEA staff also as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Alvarado, and good evening again for joining us today. I think all my board members are being candid here. Let's face it, we are a community. I mean, you are my neighbors. You are some of the teachers that taught my kids that are now on college or out of college and so forth. You are my relatives. And the last thing we want is to put a division into this community. I mean, I was born here, raised here, and I'm gonna die here. And I still gotta walk into Food for Less, Rite Aid, and so forth and see you. Or drive out of my driveway and see my neighbor there with a big ACT sign on this tailgate. I know that you deserve it, and there is no question about it. And like Mr. Alvarado was saying, I believe that we come to an agreement, maybe we can work something out. The district obviously has dropped attendance, 1,000 students. And if you can round off those numbers, that's a lot of money. And the last thing, I know that I was voted in to this position, and I can get voted out. But I can tell you that my intention was not here to pick on teachers, pick on supervisors, or pick on administrators, but I can tell you that I'm here to do the right thing. I worked in a state prison for 30 years, an impeccable career. Matter of fact, I got accommodations during my career. And I can tell you that, again, I'm not here, I mean, today I was called and everything, well, I'll leave that alone. I knew this could happen when I signed up for this job. But I can tell you that our peers tonight, we're trying to work something out. And hopefully, we can come to an agreement, because this has to stop. And I'm gonna tell you why it has to stop. Because we are here for our kids. And last meeting, we let our kids down. Well, and I'll take blame from it. I'll take blame from it. But you know what? We're all adults. We're all adults, and that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. And I'll tell you what. All I can tell you is that we have to move on. We have to move on, and hopefully we can come to an agreement and put this behind us. And that's all I have to say. And again, thank you for joining us, because we have a long agenda here. Okay, so we're going to move on. Any other questions, board members? Thank you. L, discussion. L1, law enforcement class.
So just to provide an update, we met and we visited Calexico High School after we received some specs on some of the simulators that we weren't going to be able to accommodate in the portables. And in going back and forth and visiting the site and looking at different options, we determined that the best place to install these simulators were at the book room for CHS. And at the same time, we're trying to have the rest of the books stored somewhere around the area of the library. So we were able to meet with Ms. Williams and make some decisions to make it work. So I know that today, Mr. Ocampo sent us an email saying that he had already met with Mr. Davis on the location, and they had already agreed on how they were going to install these. So it's already in the process of getting this done.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Action items, consideration and action approval of the following items. M1, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Board Link Security for content filtering service.
So moved.
Moved by Romero, second by Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. M2, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Unitech Communication Technology for drilling placement of new underground conduit and concrete restoration, Calexico Unified School District.
So moved.
Moved by Romero,
Second.
second by Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. M3, agreement renewal between Calexico Unified School District and Williams Scotsman, Inc. for the lease of relocatable classrooms Enrique Camarena Junior High.
So moved.
Moved by Romero, second by Magallanes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. And M4 and M5 were pulled, correct?
Yes, we're gonna pull M4 and M5 because we did not include a school. So we will be bringing this one back. These back.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. M6, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Imperial County Office of Education for Professional Development and Social and Emotional Learning.
So moved.
Moved by Alvarado. Second by Magallanes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. M7, lease agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Imperial County Office of Education for the use of modular unit located in Main Elementary School.
So moved.
Moved by Romero.
Second.
Second by Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. M8, Food Services Agreement between Calexico Unified School District and ICOE Alternative Ed and SPED to receive free meals for years 2022-23 fiscal year.
So moved.
Moved by Alvarado,
Second.
second by Magallanes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. M9, Food Services Agreement between Calexico Unified School District and ICOE Calexico Academy to receive free meals for the 2022 and 2023 fiscal year.
Move to approve.
Moved by Calderon, second by Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. M10, bid award and agreement Belton Outdoors LLC for purchase of district-wide outdoor benches.
So moved.
Moved by Romero,
Second.
second by Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. You okay with it, Mr. Calderon?
Yeah.
You okay? All right. M11, Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and Calexico Rotary Club for student educational platform licenses.
So moved.
Moved by Alvarado,
Second.
second by Romero. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. And 12, approval of AG Completion Improvement Grant from 2021 to 2026 school year.
So moved.
Move to approve.
Moved by Calderon, second by Alvarado. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. M13, which reads, first reading of revised board policy 4000 concept and roles. I like to table this. Is there a motion?
I second that motion.
Second by Calderon. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Ms. Magallanes? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. N14, resolution continuing Board of Trustees authority to hold virtual meetings pursuant to AB 361. It's a resolution. Calderon?
Well,
There's a motion?
I'd like
sorry.
to make the motion, but I'd like to make a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
So,
And second by Alvarado.
so with this, I know there's a misunderstanding that we wanted to approve this, so we don't have to meet in public. The perfect example that I have is this: when I got hurt a couple meetings ago, I had to attend via Zoom. So that is the whole purpose that I would like to continue with this. And this is done every 6 months, right, Amy?
No, under AB 361, this has to be passed every 30 days.
Every 30 days, okay.
And the board has been passing this resolution routinely since AB 361 went into effect.
Okay, so to me, Mr. President and members of the public, this is why I would like to continue using this, because we don't know what can happen to any of us. So that's my point. So I'll make the motion.
Motion by Calderon, second by Alvarado. Roll call. Calderon?
Aye.
Romero?
Yes.
Magallanes?
Yes.
Alvarado?
Yes.
Calderon Jr., yes. N15, resolution declaring district membership in CISC 3 self-insured schools of California Medical, Dental, and Vision Systems authorization to execute a joint exercise of power agreement.
I'll move to approve, but with comments or questions.
Okay, motion by Romero. It has a, go ahead, Richard.
One comment that's been made to me by some teachers is that they're concerned about if they're sick, and is that considered when we move, if you move over, a pre-existing condition? Dr. Thurman?
Thank you, Mr. Romero.
The mic's not on.
Can you guys hear me? The light's on. Is that any better? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
No.
6. I'm gonna. Yeah, lights on. Is this any better? Sorry, testing 1, 2, 3. It's picking up. There. Testing 1, 2, 3. Is that any better? Is that better? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Romero. No, any type of situations right now, because this is not a change of insurance, it's a change of administrators, that would not impact that. In fact, every primary care physician, specialist, all those types of auxiliary services other than the regular basic primary provider are all covered and will stay consistent.
So we're just changing the administrator, correct?
Changing the what?
The administrator?
Yes, exactly.
And this takes effect, what date does it take effect?
July 1 was the effect date, and the pricing we have is for 15 months.
Ms. Dr. Thurman, also, my question is, I got approached by members stating that they were afraid, or that they had been given, that there are some issues with the coverage. One of those issues is, for example, they do not have the right for a second opinion. How true is that?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. There's actually an additional provision with CISC, because they're so large and such a large pool. There are some additional provisions on second opinions that we do not have now. One of the examples that's been provided is the ability to, with any cancer diagnosis, to go to the City of Hope, which is located in Duarte. It's a cancer specialist center, and get a second opinion, and travel and lodging provisions are provided through this second opinion provision that we do not have now.
What about coverage in Yuma, Arizona for some of the doctors that are in network also as well?
Yes, thank you. Every single doctor that we are going to now, and not just primary care, but specialists and referral out, any doctor we've been referred to, are all covered under the current CISC plan, because again, it's the same network. Anthem Blue Cross, identical network all the way across the board, just a different administrator. So if you saw a doctor in Yuma, if you saw a doctor in San Diego, in Oakland, in Nevada, that was under your Blue Cross plan, they're still covered and they're still there.
Mr. Thurman, how different is this company? How different is this company from the one we have already?
The insurance is the same, it's just a different provider. We do Anthem Direct right now, which is fairly expensive, direct from Anthem, because we're going through this vendor, the CISC. It's a very large pool of districts, so rates are not as volatile to go up, and so it's different in that way. But there are also several other value-added pieces that CISC provides to their entire network. I mentioned the second opinion with City of Hope. There's other ones for there's a specialty service for knee, hip, and back surgeries that we're able to go to Scripps Institute in San Diego with zero copay, zero deductible. It's just a special value-added piece that they have. Another important piece that we've sent out to everybody is that your typical issues, we've identified 14 with the help of the associations, from having a baby, breaking a leg, having a horrific car accident of a family of 4 that all needed significant hospitalization, all these different aspects of life, cancer, typical COVID diagnosis with treatment, all those different items, looking at same treatment with our Anthem Direct and CISC, and there's significant savings, sometimes 50% on the out-of-pocket costs that members would have to pay under the CISC administration of Anthem Blue Cross versus our Anthem Blue Cross Direct.
Any more questions, board members?
One more, diabetes, the diabetes plan
What was that?
for diabetes and all that?
Yes,
That-
diabetes is one of those options, including the, like a monitoring system and the regular monthly checkups and those. I don't remember the cost right now, but all of those, every single one of the 14 issues had a cost savings under a CISC plan of the same insurance versus the Anthem Direct plan.
And the coverage right now currently that we're gonna cover starting July 1st is gonna be 100%, correct?
Yes. That, just to clarify, 100% of the cost of the insurance. Yes, yes. 100% coverage of all employees.
Any other
Any
questions,
other-
board members?
No more
All right, we
questions.
have a motion on the floor by Romero,
Second.
second by Alvarado.
Before, can I make,
It's a roll call, I know,
Okay.
but,
Ca-
yes,
can I make a comment before or are we done with
yeah,
comments?
well, hurry, yeah.
So, oh, pues, no me dejan. So, Mr. President, I like to say a few words before we vote, and unfortunately, this is one of those decisions that I believe we are being given to make, and again, we are in the middle of negotiations. Okay, we are in the middle of negotiations, and somehow we are trying to do this. I understand the monetary aspect of this. I fully do. And when I got elected to this position, I have to see that the district doesn't get in money trouble. I completely understand that. I do. And there's about a $4,000 difference in between plans. I understand that. But I would also like for this board to understand my frustration with the fact that the person that got us here right now, and I'm not talking about the superintendent, but the person that got us here to this point is not here. okay? That is my frustration, okay? Our lead negotiator, I'm not talking about our superintendent, but our lead negotiator. And now, so with that said, again, I understand what we have to do, and I understand that for some people, they see this only as money saving, okay? But as you said before, Mr. President, this is a community. Like you said it before a couple minutes ago, this is a community where we have to go to Starbucks, and we have to go to Walmart or Food for Less, and we have to interact with people that work in our district, in the district that we represent. I shouldn't say our district. So please understand that this is a very difficult situation that we have to, or vote that we have to take tonight.
Well, here it goes, Mr. Calderon. We already have a motion. It's a resolution. Roll call. Calderon.
No.
Romero.
Yes.
Magallanes. Magallanes?
Yes.
Alvarado?
Yes.
Calderon Jr., yes. Okay, next item, M16, resolution regarding disposition of surplus assets, non-asset technology equipment at Cesar Chavez Elementary. Do we have a motion?
I couldn't hear nothing.
Well, let's try it again. M16, resolution regarding disposition of surplus assets, non-asset technology equipment at Cesar Chavez.
So moved.
Moved by Alvarado. Second by Calderon Jr. All those in, it's a roll call. Calderon,
Aye.
Romero,
Yes.
Magallanes,
Yes.
Alvarado.
Yes.
Calderon Jr., yes. M16, resolution regarding disposition of surplus assets / non-asset technology equipment at Rockwood Elementary.
So moved.
Moved by Alvarado,
Second.
second by Romero. Roll call. Calderon,
Aye.
Romero,
Yes.
Magallanes,
Yes.
Alvarado,
Yes.
Calderon Jr., yes. M18, resolution regarding disposition of surplus assets, non-assets, cart flatbed at Calexico High School.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Romero, second by Alvarado. Roll call. Calderon,
Aye. Aye.
Romero,
Yes.
Magallanes,
Yes.
Alvarado,
Yes.
Calderon Jr., yes. M19, resolution regarding disposition of surplus asset, non-asset office equipment at district office.
So moved.
Moved by Romero,
Second.
second by Alvarado. Roll call. Calderon,
Aye.
Romero,
Yes.
Magallanes,
Yes.
Alvarado,
Yes.
Calderon, yes. Motion passes 5-0. M20, resolution of sign orders for 2021-22 school year.
So moved.
Moved by Alvarado,
Second.
second by Romero. Roll call. Calderon,
Aye.
Romero,
Yes.
Magallanes,
Yes.
Alvarado,
Yes.
Calderon Jr., yes. 5-0, motion passes. M21, certificated employment report.
The recommendation is for the board to approve the certificated report with the addition of Ms. Rubio Nelida as the assistant principal for Cesar Chavez Elementary.
So moved.
Moved by Alvarado,
Second.
second by Romero. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. M2, classified employment report.
So moved.
Moved by Alvarado, second by Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We're not going to reconvene to closed session. Q, reconvene to open session, obviously not. P, announcement of actions taken in closed session. We have none, correct?
None.
None to be noted. Q, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Alvarado,
Second.
second by Romero. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us tonight.